Friends, I think I found the guy who was tasked with designing babies for JE, or alongside him at least. Watch this, it's gonna blow your mind.
Stem cell technology that Peter and I are investing in is called SCNT, which takes the egg of a young, perfect woman specimen, takes the egg and takes out the nucleus and puts our DNA in the nucleus. They just go ahead and take it out.
Pay for it?
Huh?
They pay for Jesus.
Yeah, and this is part of this genetic greatness that we don't see in any other race on the planet. These curvy, sexy black women from Africa. Negroes have a kind of a monopoly on this genetic perfection, and we want some of that. So, girls, for $100, we will pay you for your egg.
$100?
So how much do you want for it? Let's bid. I bid $500. Wherever I bid, you can outbid me. I bought about $60,000 worth of eggs. Yeah. If you have an abortion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, and placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. Mm-hmm. We regard it as waste, and it actually should be. It should be captured. It's recycled, and it shouldn't go to waste. It's life for somebody, It's life for mankind. The best eggs are 16 to 18 years old. Those are the best eggs. As you get older, your eggs get weaker.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So you may not be our candidate.
No, that's fine. I'm going to go with my business anyway.
Now that was Peter Nygard, but I'll come back to him shortly. See, Epstein, he hoped to seed the human race with his DNA by impregnating women at his ranch in New Mexico. Epstein told scientists and businessmen about his ambitions to use his New Mexico ranch as a base where he would inseminate women with sperm. You dirty bugger. And of course, they would give birth to his babies. His goal was to have 20 women at a time impregnated at his ranch. Now, if you look at his circle of friends, it included the molecular engineer, George Church, and evolutionary biologist Stephen Jay Gould. Now, you also had the neurologist and author Oliver Sacks, and the theoretical physicist Frank Wilczek, not to mention Lawrence Krauss, Richard Dawkins, and Sam Harris. On one occasion, Epstein held a lunch for Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics, a program he helped fund with a $6 million donation. He wanted these babies so bad he was willing to pay millions for it. In 2011, he gave $20,000 to the Worldwide Transhumanist Association, a project that now operates as Humanity Plus. JE himself was collaborating with a Bitcoin developer on a plan to create the first live birth of a human designer baby, and possibly a human clone within 5 years. Now in the files, there's emails between Epstein and Brian Bishop, who in 2018 was seeking financial backing for a venture aimed at genetically enhancing offspring and ultimately replicating humans. In an email, July 21st of that year, more than a decade after Epstein was charged with criminal scrutiny, Bishop sent Epstein a pitch deck outlining the project and its scientific aims. By late 2018, however, Bishop told Epstein that his team was shifting towards a more radical approach. In an email dated November 26, 2018, Bishop wrote, "My team has been working on a new technique which does not involve stem cells in the testes. Instead, it's an embryo editing technique more similar to cloning." He said this does not require an injection to the biological father. Meanwhile, overseas, a lab has reported some mouse testis transfection results. They are observing maybe 5% transfection efficiency, which might be enough. Further testing is ongoing. He finished by saying, ultimately, this method is inferior to our new embryo modification technique. Sperm injections, embryo, what the hell were these people playing at? Epstein himself, however, harbored racist beliefs, including the idea that black people's genetics made them less intelligent. In 2016, Epstein emailed German cognitive scientist Joshua Bach, indicating that he was interested in the idea of genetically modifying black people to make them smarter. Have you heard Epstein speak?
Because I think it's a legitimate question.
You think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think about, I think you have ethics is always.
He sounds like a doo-doo dum-dum. Bach had received a roughly $400,000 donation from Epstein. In 2016, an email exchange with Noam Chomsky, Epstein claimed that the test score gap amongst African Americans is well documented and was adamant that a set of genes used for working memory could be found and adjusted. What the hell? But this brings us back to Peter Nygard. That clip in the beginning where he wanted black babies? Let's go into his history. See, Peter, he built a fashion empire through Nygard International before facing extensive criminal charges. In November 23, he was found guilty in Toronto on 4 counts of criminal misconduct involving 4 women. The incidents occurred at his company's headquarters in Toronto. In September 24, Justice Robert Goldstein sentenced him to 11 years in prison. But what's interesting is amongst Nygard's friends, we saw Prince Andrew on his properties. In the year 2000, the prince had stayed at Nygard's opulent 5-acre estate in the Bahamas with his wife Sarah Ferguson and his daughters Eugenie and Beatrice. And this was not your average holiday resort, but an extravagant Mayan-themed palace of hedonism. There was reportedly a human aquarium where bare-breasted women clad in mermaid tails swam. What? The FBI document stated that he and his associates targeted women and girls from disadvantaged economic backgrounds and limited opportunities, because to him, they were the prey. The victims were promised modeling opportunities, fashion industry careers, and financial support. The charging document described an operation spanning multiple locations across the United States, Canada, and the Bahamas. So because of this, the FBI tried interviewing Prince Andrew regarding his knowledge of Epstein and Nygard. US authorities prepared questions for British counterparts to ask Prince Andrew, including inquiries about dates he met either Epstein or Nygard, whether he traveled to either man's properties, and which individuals he encountered through either of them. Because of course, both men, Epstein and Nygard, were subjects of separate trafficking investigations during overlapping time periods. It's clear to me they were in cahoots. Or Epstein was an agent for the Rothschilds and Nygard was another agent for the Rothschilds. As of right now, Nygard is in prison, but he's still facing further charges in Montreal, Quebec. He's been charged with 1 count of improper conduct and 1 count of forcible confinement. These cases remain pending. But going back to Epstein, he also had a creepy obsession with using genetics. He wanted to improve women's sex drive. He repeatedly discussed the idea with former Stanford human biology professor Nathan Wolfe. In emails between them, they discussed the possibility of developing female Viagra. Wolfe, perhaps even more than Epstein, was serious about it happening. In May 2013, Wolfe wrote to Epstein saying that their horny virus hypothesis could be correct. He claimed that he'd come up with a study directly linking sexual behavior and microbial diversity, and asked for Epstein's thoughts about his funding on the hypothesis. Another scientist that Epstein confided with was Martin Nowak, a math and biology professor at Harvard University. Nowak was known for his work on using math to describe the evolution of the human language and how certain human behaviors emerged. In light of everything I've said, it's not hard to see why Epstein took such a strong interest in Nowak's work. In 2003, he gave him $30 million to support the research. Now, Nowak's connection to Epstein is well documented, but the newly released documents additionally revealed an ominous-sounding email to GM. Nowak emailed her saying, "I'm so very sorry I caused you so much worry, and I spoiled this day. I'm so happy that I did not kill anyone." Then in 2014, Epstein sent a cryptic email to Nowak stating, "Our spy was captured after completing her mission." Nowak responded, "Did you torture her?" So to conclude, the question is, what was all this for? Why would Epstein want to create an army of his own people in a sense? Well, if he was the devil, which I believe he was, or one of Satan's minions, maybe another demon, well, maybe this way he could fully control the people. Either way, it's all a bit sickening, isn't it? Let me know what you think.